Hustle really means like forcing expansion without checking your capacity. Alignment or sustainable growth is expanding from the inside out through my thoughts, my emotions, and my rhythms. You can't force sustainable growth without burnout. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I'm your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Hey friend, and welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. If you've been following along this month, then you know we've been talking about energy management versus time management. We've been talking about capacity and what it really means to lead yourself from fullness, not from fumes. Now, you also know we've been talking about the word no because it is November. And you may have just listened to Monday's episode like, wait, you said you were taking a break from recording podcasts. But I really just felt inspired to do extra episodes this month to talk about this topic because I know this is a season that can feel like it's a breaking season for you. It breaks your capacity. It breaks your spirit. It breaks maybe your inspiration or your desire to show up as the fullest version of yourself in this season. So today we're going to talk about that capacity and take that conversation one layer deeper. So the truth is most of us try to force growth instead of building it. We confuse hustle with expansion and we push harder instead of pausing to recalibrate. And we call it growth. But really, it's a depletion dressed up as progress. So today, I want to show you how to grow your capacity without hustling your way to burnout. So I have to take you back to a season when I thought pushing through meant progress. And honestly, y'all, this is kind of a newfound in the last 3-4 years, belief that I hold when it comes to pushing through and progress and rest. And there were just moments I remember so vividly, moments sitting in my car, sitting at my desk, exhausted but determined because I am a very high achieving woman, and thinking if I could just push through this next thing, then I'll rest. But that next thing always turned into another thing. I know you can relate to this, and you've heard me talk about this on the podcast before, but it's kind of like that one day strategy. Like one day I'll get back to pursuing my passion. One day I'll get back to dating my spouse. One day I'll get back to resting. One day I'll get back to allowing myself some margin. And we know that one day never comes, right? So the problem wasn't my drive, and the problem probably isn't your drive because you're a highly ambitious woman. It was my definition of growth. And maybe my definition of ambition. And maybe that's you too. I thought that growing meant doing more. As a performer, a recovering performer and pleaser, improver, now I know it means doing it differently. Now, because I understand my strengths, my natural strengths, I understand my wiring, I understand my capacity that is unique to me, just like yours is unique to you. I understand this in a whole different way. And I want to help you have that shift as well. So here's how I define it now. Hustle really means like forcing expansion without checking your capacity. And I know what hustle feels like. I can feel it in my body when I dip into that hustle energy or that performing energy or that proving energy. It feels very forceful, and I'm not checking in. I'm checking out usually when I'm in that hustle mode. Alignment or sustainable growth is expanding from the inside out through my thoughts, my emotions, and my rhythms. You can't force sustainable growth without burnout. You can only build it brick by brick, layer by layer, belief by belief. And it takes patience. And a lot of us don't like that, right? Like we want to be in the result of our business and the success in our business like yesterday. I know you can relate to that. Or we want to be in the result of the profit and the revenue yesterday. But there's a process for that. It's brick by brick, layer by layer, belief by belief. And when you do that, you're no longer trying to keep up. You're creating momentum that actually lasts because you're building it on foundational work. You're building it on the capacity work. So let's walk through like the three kind of growth zones that can make this possible. And we talk about all three of these all throughout this podcast, but it might be helpful just to kind of see them in these three buckets. The first one is your mental capacity. This is you upgrading your thoughts. What you think about is what you're going to be about. What you think about is what you're going to be about because your mind determines the ceiling of your growth. If your internal soundtrack is full of I can't, I should, or it's not enough, or I must prove, you'll always hit mental resistance long before you hit your true potential. So if those are some thoughts that you're having, that's what we want to do first. We want to check those thoughts. Because how you grow it is to start catching one limiting belief every day and replace it with a thought that's both true and useful. And this is a skill set to develop. This is something we don't talk about in entrepreneurship. It's not something we talk about enough in motherhood as well. Like just being so aware of your thoughts. What are you thinking about on a daily basis? What is your brain offering up to you? And you are just accepting it as true. And let's just say it is true. Is it the most useful thing for you to be thinking about when you're trying to expand your capacity or when you're trying to show up as the wife, the mother, the entrepreneur that you want, the person you're becoming in this season? So an example could be, I don't have enough time. How many times have you said that? Or I am busy. I'm going to do a whole series on breaking up with busy, but I don't have enough time. Instead, you could say, I'm learning how to create more time through focus. When we say I don't have enough time, your brain's like, yep, okay, got it. We don't have enough time. And it's just going to show you all the ways that you don't have time. Or I'm busy. Yep, we're just going to confirm all the things and all the ways that you're busy right now. But if you're saying I'm learning how to create more time through focus, or I'm working on creating more time, then that will help you. That's growth, not hustle, not pushing through. The second bucket I want you to think about is your emotional capacity. This is allowing discomfort without shame. Most women think burnout comes from doing too much, but often it comes from feeling too little. Now, this whole section is the area that I feel like I have grown the most in the last 3 years. I've been pretty strong in my mindset. I've been pretty strong in my thoughts and keeping my brain on the most useful thoughts. But what I found about having that strength is I didn't allow for the discomfort of emotion. I was so quick to fix it and get out of the emotion because it doesn't feel good to be sad. It doesn't feel good to be in fear. It doesn't feel good to be doubting. It doesn't feel good to be angry. And so I wasn't allowing the discomfort without shaming myself. And so I would just quickly move into the thoughts. And that's a double-edged sword because if we avoid discomfort, hard conversations, or even our own emotions, that resistance takes energy. And it was emotionally exhausting for me to always be the positive one, to be the strong one. And so there is a moment or there is an opportunity here for you to believe that it's not about always staying positive. It's about staying in your power. And when you allow yourself to feel any emotion without the shame, that is you taking your power back. When you allow yourself to feel instead of fix, you free up emotional bandwidth. So how do we grow this capacity, our emotional capacity? Next time you feel stretched, instead of saying I'm fine and faking fine, try saying I'm feeling stretched right now. And that's okay. This is part of my expansion. I'm feeling sad right now, and that's okay. This is part of my expansion. Just allowing the emotion to be there. That's how emotional resilience is built, because every time you allow it there, you create safety. You create safety to hold both the hard emotion and moving forward. It doesn't take you out. That was one of the beliefs I had in growing my emotional capacity, and even being willing and open to having this discussion with myself and with my coach and my mentors, was if I allow myself to feel this sadness, it's going to take me out. It's going to take me out of the game. I don't have time for that. These were all thoughts that I was having, that it wasn't allowing me to grow my emotional capacity. And now, because I've been in an allowance of it, even being able to be here on the podcast today after the season that that I just went through, I allowed myself all throughout those 3 months of caregiving. We knew what the end was going to be, at least what we thought it was going to be, without divine intervention. And so I allowed myself to feel emotionally safe, or grew my emotional capacity, grew my resilience in my emotions to just grieve all throughout the time, versus being in fear of that emotion and being in fear of what's going to happen. Like I remember working with my coach and thinking about what's going to happen on the other side of this. Like, how am I ever going to get back into business and like be the same? And the fact is, I'm not the same. I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. And you're not the same person you were 3 months ago, depending on what you've been through, right? But it's a more resilient me today. It's a more emotionally safe, emotionally resilient person today, because I allowed myself to feel those emotions and grieve, and which is allowing me today to show up and to be back in my business probably sooner than most of you thought. But the thoughts that have been driving that is, my business is for me. My business grounds me. My business allows me to show up and serve in ways that when I'm not working my business, when I'm not coaching, doesn't allow for that. And so this is a really big piece, and I now understand it more. And so I want to bring it more to the podcast as well, because there was a season, and I've talked about this in the podcast before, where I was so in the performance loop and so just performing my life versus leading it, that I was not allowing for this. I was not allowing for my emotional resiliency, my emotional capacity to grow. I actually thought I was doing a pretty good job when really I realized that I was just coping, I was avoiding, I was fixing, versus just allowing it and feeling it. Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint, built from the science-backed personality and performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. You don't need a new year to make a new decision, friend. Now is the time. Take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. The third one is your physical energy capacity. This is like aligning your rhythms plus rest. Now, I talk about this a lot on the podcast. And if you would have asked me, 6 months ago about capacity, I would have really just been thinking about my physical capacity and, helping you to create margin and to create physical rest for your body. And I would not have thought about all the other things that I talked about earlier, but you can't lead well on an empty tank. And I know this is not the first time you've heard it, and I'm just going to keep saying it over and over and over again until it sinks in, because I know for me, there's things my coach has said over and over and over again, and then it finally just kind of hits, it kind of lands. But you can't lead yourself well much less your kids, your spouse, your friends, your business, your team, on an empty tank. Your physical rhythm, which is rest, nourishment, movement, and quiet time, is the foundation for everything else. Do you believe that? Let's do a check-in right here. Do you actually believe that? Or are you in the one-day strategy? Or do you believe rest is earned? Do you believe that rest is not productive? Do you believe it's for the weak? What are your thoughts right now? No shame. Just what are your thoughts about this? I want you to start noticing what refuels you versus what only numbs you. This is a big one. What actually gives you energy versus what's just numbing you out because you don't want to feel the emotion maybe, or you don't want to put any effort in because you're just completely exhausted. And here's some things that it might step on some toes. Scrolling isn't rest. Stillness is. When you're scrolling, are you really resting? Truly. And if it is, more power to you. But if you're able to scroll and not compare, if you're able to scroll and not feel this urge that I need to do more, perform more, then I want you to challenge that. And just, could you just sit in stillness? A lot of us don't like to sit in stillness and be still because of our thoughts that start running. And we just don't know how to sit with those thoughts. And that's growing your mental capacity as well as just being able to sit with those thoughts. Hustle also isn't strength. So I want you to start noticing when you start trying to overperform, sustainability is what is strength. What is sustainable for you right now in this season? And it changes. It changes. What you were able to sustain before in this season, it might look different. It might look different how you rest. It might look different how you work. Now, hustle and hard work to me are two different things. And so I am a hard worker. And I actually love to work hard. I love to do that kind of work. But it's not sustainable when it's coming from hustle and pressure. It's not sustainable when it's coming from performance and proving. Remember, burnout doesn't happen usually from doing too much. It happens from doing too much out of alignment, too little of what fuels you, too little of what lights you up, too little of what is actually aligned with who you are and what you want for your life and for your business. So growth doesn't have to cost you your peace. It doesn't have to cost you your rest. It doesn't have to cost you your relationships. It doesn't have to cost you fill in the blank. You can build capacity without burning out. You can expand without overextending yourself. And this right here is the work that we do inside Illuminate You Coaching. This is the foundational pieces of you coming into coaching and wanting to be more productive. You coming into coaching and wanting to have more work-life balance. We identify what fuels you. We strengthen your thought patterns. We spend time every single week. This is why when you come into a coaching container with me, at least your first round, we're meeting every single week because we have to strengthen your thought patterns. We have to start teaching you the skill set of catching your thoughts, checking your thoughts, and changing your thoughts. And it is a skill set, and you can develop it. This is where we help you expand your emotional and energetic bandwidth, your capacity intentionally with purpose, not just a byproduct of hustle, a byproduct of performing. And we do all of this inside Illuminate You Coaching so you can stop performing your life and start leading it from fullness, not from hustle. So if you're ready to grow in a way that actually feels good and doesn't just look good on the outside, because success to me is it's not just about what it looks like on the outside, it's how you feel while you're building it. I would love to walk with you through it. So the first step to do that is to book your free clarity call. You can go to martinewilliams.com/clarity. And this is an opportunity for you and I to get on the phone together. And we're just going to talk about where you are right now. We're going to identify where you are, get really clear on that. What are the thoughts that you're having that are not serving you? What are the actions that you're taking that are no longer in alignment? And then we're going to talk about where you want to go. What specifically, do you even know the targets, hard-hitted target that you haven't defined? And I find a lot of women that I work with, that's the missing link. They just haven't defined it clearly enough. So if that's not defined, then you don't know the steps to take. And so that's the other piece. We'll talk about what are the next steps for you? What's a process to help you get there? Because the version of you that you're becoming, she's already in motion, and she's not built on hustle. She doesn't want to be built on hustle. She wants to be built on alignment. I know that's who you are because that's who I am. And that's the women that I attract. They want to work and they want to be successful, but they want to do it from a place of alignment. They want to do it from a place of leadership, not just performing all the time, because performance is exhausting. I can tell you. Takes one to know one. So if this is resonating with you, again, your next step is to go to martinewilliams.com/clarity. Feel free to send me a DM on Instagram if you have questions at Martine31Williams. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. All the links to these things are in the show notes. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.